Welcome to Plant More, Worry Less, a podcast by the Huachuma Foundation. We are grateful for the supporters who make this show possible. To learn more about our work or support our mission, please visit huachumafoundation.org. Also note, in this podcast we discuss sacred plant medicines for educational purposes only. Nothing herein should be considered medical or legal advice, and we do not encourage using any substances in places where they are illegal. We hope you enjoy this very special episode.
Thank you. So much better. Usually I do this before we start and then we go. So those nice, long, slow breaths were actually very helpful. Thank you for kicking it off that way. So Nathan or Nate, what do you prefer to be called?
Nathan? My name's Nathan Earl Tinder.
Nathan Earl Tinder. Okay. Well, Nathan, thank you so much for joining us. It was so cool to connect with you on my own and then see that you and Hamid had already been connected for different reasons. And there was little synchronicities kind of sprinkled along our experience. And there's actually a sticker that Hamid has on his harmonium. And I was like, that's a really cool sticker. And then it all came together. He was like, that's that guy's sticker. And I was like, oh, here we go. We're having a conversation with him finally. So Huachuma was like working its magic and connecting us in ways before I even reached out. So anyway, thank you for joining us on the show today. It's really a pleasure and a joy to have you. And thank you for all the work that you're doing on social media, speaking about the cactus so lovingly and with so much wisdom and so much care. Before we get into anything, I just want to say thank you for what you're doing.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a divine pleasure to share what is real and what is important to me. So I'm grateful. Yeah.
Awesome. So I think I saw somewhere on your Instagram that you had been working with this cactus for over 20 years. I think it said 2 decades somewhere, maybe longer. And I'm just curious, I want to know your background, like a deep, rich history on how you found the cactus and what life was like even before. So I'll kind of let you just riff on that. But I'm so curious about you and what got you to present day captivation.
That is such a big question and such a fascinating story, even for me, witnessing it. Just that line of fortunate and unfortunate events that brings us to this moment here and now. How did we get here? I just want to say, thank you to all of the guides that have helped me along the way, all of the teachers, all of the books that I've been able to read, all of the plants that I've been able to hang out with. And knowing that who I am is not because of who I was when I got here, because of who I am in relation with and the relationships that I've learned about myself along the way. And it's been a rich experience, this life. San Pedro is just one of the many tools that I've gathered along the way that has helped me have perspective inside of myself and outside of myself. I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah, and where I grew up, there was Mormons and there was a Catholic family that lived down the street. And I was told that Mormons were right and the Catholics were wrong, just because that was my little world. And I thought it's strange that we could all live on the same place and one of us was right and one of us was wrong. And then my mind was blown when I realized that there was many more religions than just 2. And out of the thousands and thousands of religions on earth, there was one that was right and the rest were wrong. And for me, I could feel in my back, down low, just above my sacrum, tightness inside myself when I heard that story. And I realized that feeling is my internal compass, and it helps me know which direction to choose and what stories are real to me or not. And so at a very young age, I just became a searcher for what was real, because what I was told was real did not feel good to me. And so, yeah, my favorite places to be, my parents said when I was a kid, was sitting in a hammock under the trees. Still my favorite place to be, hanging out with the bees and the leaves and the way that the light dapples, comes through and just shimmers and tickles me and sends me on journeys. And when I got my first car, the first thing I did was escape to the wilderness as much as I could. And I grew up in Salt Lake City, so we had the Wasatch Front, which is these gigantic, gorgeous mountains that just rip up out of the floor of the desert, and there's just oases after oasis and adventure after adventure to be had. And it really woke me up to the pleasure of being present and with nature, and how good it felt for me to bathe in that temple of creation that felt real to me. And along the path, I was a late bloomer for some people, early for others, but I smoked some cannabis when I was 17 and had my first laugh-gasm, where I laughed until my sides hurt and my cheeks hurt. And and then I realized, there was another perspective that I had never seen before. This kind of silly, wonderful, tastes great, music, beautiful. Wow. I heard music for the first time when I smoked cannabis, because my awareness was so closed from where I was brought up, listening to, like my parents and our family was told that we weren't musical. I remember going to choir and hearing that, I didn't have a good voice and all those things that shut my voice down. Which, thank God that happened to me, because it helps me yearn for what my voice was, what music was, and helped me on that path of discovery. And so, and then I was introduced to mushrooms, and my first mushroom journey we did in Moab on spring break, and a helicopter was haunting the kids and just like messing with all the spring break kids, because they wanted them to terrorize them and them to feel in trouble. And when we were sharing in circle our sacrament, a helicopter parked right above us, and all the kids freaked out and went running. And that was my first journey. And my best friend had a really bad journey because he became paranoid. And I'm sitting there enjoying all the lichen on the rocks, and the clouds started moving and becoming rainbows. And I look at my friend, and he's just having a very difficult experience. And so, right from the beginning, I was guiding, whether I knew it or not. That was my purpose, is to help people through difficult experiences. And my second journey, I realized that everything in my life was based on false stories, false metaphors. And the medicine gave me the idea that I needed to spend a year in the wilderness alone, regathering clear metaphor from the temple of creation, so that I could rebuild my psyche on what was real, according to nature, according to what is hot and cold, what is fire, what is water, what is air, what is the mountain. These questions that were told to me in books, but I needed to yearn and experience myself. And so that question of what was real and how can I gather clear metaphors became this sacred quantum question that has driven my life and my purpose. And that makes it really easy to live, because I know what I'm wanting to discover. And I'm asking for vision of how can I share what I am learning, and what is my vision, what is my purpose here on this planet. And so, that led me to Tom Brown, Tracker School, New Jersey, and the spirit that moves through all things. I found one of his books in Barnes & Noble when I was researching, how am I going to live in the woods for a year? And I thought I was going to have to pack everything out there and bring guns and supplies and make a garden and wilderness high on the mountains where nobody could find me. And in his book, Nature Observation and Tracking, a guide to awareness, he talks about the spirit that moves through all things and living with nature. And this idea that physical awareness is a doorway to spiritual awareness. Asceticism, going without, fasting, sitting in a dark cave, that's another way to learn about spiritual awareness. But this was a doorway through physicality. And grandfather was an Apache scout who did a vision quest when he was 50 and had a vision of sharing these clear metaphors he gathered on a 40-year walking vision quest afterwards. He was directed to gather all the lost stories and technologies of the people. He wandered all over South America, he wandered all over North America and gathered as much technology as he could. And in his vision, he was to pass it down to a white coyote. And he walked to New Jersey to visit his grandson when he was in his 80s. And his grandson's best friend was Tom Brown. And Tom Brown had coyote wolf eyes and an intense gaze. And he knew that this was the student to pass his lineage on to. And he taught him through coyote teaching, through the art of questioning, through experiential education, and through metaphor. And when I read about all that, I was like, I'm in. 18 years old. I figured out how to get $750. I got airfare. I went to New Jersey, the armpit of the universe. It was scary. It was that hero's journey. And I took his standard course. And in his standard course, he teaches us how to make fire. Grandfather Fire is the ultimate teacher. Making fire with a hand drill and with a fireboard. The hand drill is called a fire drill, and it represents the masculine energy of the universe, or the sun energy. The sun energy is a ray of light that is potentiality. It goes forever unless it has a hearth to land on. Hearth is the feminine energy. This masculine is going to go forever unless it has a hearth to land on. A hearth is a fractal word. You take the H off the front of it and you have earth, which is our greater family hearth. It's the earth dragon we're riding upon. Nobody asks where we're going. And then you take the H off the end of it and we have our heart. And our heart is our own family center. And also in that word, you have ear, listen, you have art, creation, and there's whole bunches of other clues in there. Well, this ray of light is going to bounce off this flat plane of the earth unless it has space to live in. So we carve a little notch in our hearthboard, which I like to use cedar. And that's the first space in the equation of creating reality, creating something out of two opposites. And so this is a creation story that you get to do. There's creation stories we get to read about, and then there's creation stories we get to do. And by studying the process of this fire, the creation of it in the space, you've got to have a hearth to hold it in. You got to burn clean. You get to burn clean wood if you want to. You can burn dirty wood and have a smoky fire, but it's going to be uncomfortable and make us all unhealthy. How can I create a clean fire? How can I create a sustainable fire that burns without as much work? Do I have enough fuel for the fire in the container that I'm here to create? It goes on and on. Have I gathered the tools that are necessary to create this fire? Do I have the family that can help me keep it going? And then we can extrapolate from that fire, from the way we create it, so much information. And what I do is I'll go sit in Vision Quest and sit with the fire. And I have a question that I need to know. And I ask the fire, how do I manifest or manifest this experience. And I can just look at the steps of this fire and I can see what I'm missing. So I can see what parts that I'm overlooking and learn how to create. We learn basketry, shelter, how to find water, tracking. And coyote teaching is a funny thing because Tom would always say, I teach everything. He had like 40 classes that he taught. He just passed away 2 years ago while I was on Vision Quest, actually. It's pretty fascinating. And yeah, he would say that everything he taught in the 40 classes was in the first class. And I was always mystified by that. How is that possible? And just studying the fire alone has brought me more information than I could have ever imagined from sitting in that first class. So yeah, my journey became the wilderness, became these sacred questions, and the tools that I have gathered for this sacred fire. Well, the question I asked, what is a sacred fire? Sacred gets thrown around in our culture hardcore right now. I'm so sacred, you're not. What does sacred mean? And the sacred fire is a space that's safe enough to ask that question without feeling shamed. To ask that question, what is sacred? And to know that you're in a safe place to explore that. It's not a place where we know what is sacred. It's not a place where we know what is right or appropriate. It's a place where we're asking that sacred question. And oftentimes what is sacred for me or what feels safe for me is going to be very different than what feels sacred and safe to you. So how can we create a space of consent for our family and our community where people can express what they need for safety, what they need to feel sacred, and they can be heard? We just had a sacred fire. We do a sacred fire every Monday night for the community where we pray with a cedar, and we call it prayer technology, just like affirmations and goal setting are technology to manifest what we want in life. Ceremony is also a place where we can share currency and vision. And if we create a safe space, then we're going to amplify our prayer. We're going to amplify our intention and attention. And so, we always start like, why are you here? What's your name? Maybe tell me a little bit about what your parents' names are. And if you feel like talking about your grandparents, let's hear about that. What are you thankful for? What are you thankful for at this moment right now? Can you be clear and concise about what you are thankful for? And then, I always ask people, how'd they get to this fire or why did they come to this fire? So they can explain that little bit of synchronistic story that brought them there. And then we come up with a prompt. And last Monday's prompt was, what does safety mean to you in a community space? And what does safety mean for you in your relationships? And that we don't use medicine. We just pray with cedar. Cedar for us means the tree of life. And so we're giving thanks for our life and we're offering cedar to the fire, which in our hearth has a direct portal to the tree of life, a cedar tree that I planted at the hearth. And so every time we pray and we dissolve these energies together as a family, we're making offerings to the fire, cedar, tobacco, plants from the garden, burning with the madrone at the sacred fire. And then the next day, we have all those ashes, all those prayers, all that medicine. My hearth is in Sandy River loam, and it cooks with the sand and the silica. I like to put prayer crystals around my fire to make a place of consent. And then we sweep those prayer crystals in with the medicine, and then it cooks and breaks down the silica, cooks with all that medicine, and then we water those prayers in the next day. with an oscillating sprinkler. So it like circles and brings that water blessing in. And then we take that ash and fertilizer and we feed the garden. Our fire pit is in a round garden bed surrounded by master plants, tobacco, San Pedro, lamb's quarter, motherworts, all the plants that look pretty to me that I like kept growing and they just came up themselves. And then I plant jasmine tobacco around. Jasmine tobacco is night blooming and it has the sweetest smell of heavenly smell of jasmine. And we're sitting around the sacred fire and these beautiful white star flowers, and you're sitting in star flowers and in the stars around the sacred fire. And that sacred fire animates the plant spirits because then their shadows get to dance on the wall of creation. They get to feel what it's like to dance. They get to feel what it's like to talk, to have discussion. And in turn, we drink tea from the garden while we hang out and discuss life's dreams and hardships. And we drink the medicine, the plants, the teas, and we get to feel and see what it's like to be grounded, open, clear, and regulated, to feel and see what it's like to be a plant. And so for me, the garden, Hummingbird Hearth, galactic cactus is a classroom. And the greatest teachers, I've always looked for the best teachers that I can find. And for me, the best teachers is going right to source, to the plantes, to the tobacco, to the sage, to the sweetgrass, growing them from seed to ceremony, to sharing the currency of the plants. And it's a dreamy experience. And these plants are tools of the sacred fire, just as a shovel is, just as a fire stick, just as a hand drill and a hearthboard. And these tools are tools of perspective. These are tools of awareness. By feeling our pain, we restore our awareness. By feeling the pain that's inside our bodies, we can heal that pain, we can let it go, and then it restores parts of ourself, parts of our brain. It brings the flow back into our reality. A little cup of tea, please. Now I'm sipping on infinity and prosperity. It goes on and on. And so, I started teaching earth skills. I teach fire making. That's where my teaching lineage has come from, teaching fire in the old ways with hand drill. I love teaching women's fire. I was told that women can't make hand drill fires, but that's the most untrue thing that I've ever heard. They just needed to make fire in their way, not in the masculine way. There's two ways of making fire: masculine way, feminine way. One way listens and allows and gathers energy from our core. The other way knows where it's going and makes things happen. And so, when I was teaching at a festival called Earth Dance, these are transformational festivals where people go to ask that question, who am I and what am I here to do, and to party as hard as they can in the process. And I was teaching earth skills across from the white light healing dome, the vegans. And we were over there doing hides and making Oro ovens and cooking geese. And I was teaching fire making and cordage. And I brought a big beanbag and I made a nice camp. And I was sitting on the beanbag, and it was Sunday night after I was done with all the work. And I had eaten some sort of psychedelics and they didn't work for me. And my friend sat me down on my beanbag and he's like, I've been telling you about this cactus for a while. Now it's time for you to eat it until you understand. And so I ended up eating 1.5 foot raw of PC, which is a pachinoi, the predominant cultivar of pachinoi that you can buy in Home Depots. People have seen them at the dollar store. And this is a cactus that came into the Americas in like 1913. And it was brought here because it's really hardy and great for landscaping. And then through clones, because you can just take a little piece of that cactus and you can take the tip of it and plant it. And then it's going to grow a whole nother plant. You just let it dry and callous till it gets hard. Put it in the dirt. It's going to grow roots and make another cactus. So that plant's been cloned since 1913, and now it's all over Europe. It's all over Australia. It's gone everywhere. And it's great medicine, but it's like lower in the alkaloids, that more athletic alkaloids that really charge the medicine, the mescaline. And it's very bitter. If you don't know how to cook it right, it can be an awful experience. And you need quite a bit more of it than a lot of the other varieties. And so I finally ate enough of that, and then it was like a light bulb went on. Snap. Oh, this is who I've been looking for. Oh, I remember you. And I went home the next day. When I got home, I got on eBay, bought 99 seedlings, and I started my study. I started my study with this teacher. And so I look at the plants as tools of perspective. We all come to sit at this sacred fire, and we all come from our sovereign perspective. We all have the same vision, but we sit on a different side of the fire. So if I'm sitting in a circle technology with others and I'm listening to their prayer and I'm actually listening, then they become a tool of perspective for me. I can see through their eyes. If we imbibe a plant medicine in a safe space, then I can see through the perspective of the mushroom. It puts me underworld. I become an amoeba. I'm one with everyone. I'm permeable. I'm in the mom. I'm in the swimming in the mycelium network of the universe. If we use ayahuasca, we become the snake, crawling in and out of past, present, and future. And it's there to break up our world so that we can have a totally different perspective. Ganja, it's like coming home to soft Mama Mary. Oh, you're going to be okay. Don't worry about that. And it's really great for tuning into the Plante world, into that feminine spirit of the world. Tobacco, ground me, bring me home, help me remember, help me come into my body, protect me, hold my intentions, hold me in your arms. Oh, your big, lovely arms. I'm just a baby hen under your arms, and thank you for protecting me. And then we have San Pedro, the straight arrow to the heart, to the center. I would call mushrooms and ayahuasca a dissociative psychedelic. It's going to take me out of my body and into other realms. And I call San Pedro an associative psychedelic. It brings me into myself, into my center. And I can choose my own adventure from there. I can do breath work. I can blast off into DMT realms when I close my eyes. And I can take one breath and be right here and now. I'm choosing my own adventure. I am in control. I am sovereign. This is my energy field, and this is yours. I am choosing to receive your energy right now and to understand you, but I'm not absorbed by you. So it's here as a straight arrow to bring us into our center, into clarity. And it's basically a big crystal, right? It's like it's brought his wings in, its leaves in, and become a crystalline being, self-sourced. If you don't water it, it'll be happy for dang near ever. I can just put this in the closet, and 4 years later, it'll be white. Put it in the shade, it'll sprout roots, get green again, and grow. It's a master of self-sourcing. Even when it's not in roots, it's still growing, it's still collecting energy, it's listening to everything I say. In ceremony, we use these as talking sticks. At the end of the ceremony, I'll find someone to give it to so that they can remember and they can carry this lineage as well. And so it's just the coolest thing ever, especially for bringing people together in the same currency. Um, with other technologies such as ayahuasca, the music is what holds people together. Otherwise, they would be on four corners of the universe. So you have to have vibration to keep people together. In San Pedro, the medicine and the container keeps people together, which makes it way easier to flow and to be present with what is and to see the kinks in the energy field, so to speak. And San Pedro brings us into that place where we can feel where we're withholding energy, where our pain is, where our heart aches. And if we're in an appropriate container that feels safe, then we can release those energies together. So I'm not sure if I answered the original question that you brought up, but yeah, that was a little tiny bit of my journey. Of course, what really brought me here was I got lonely in the woods, realized I didn't want to do this alone. And I studied the sacred fire and asked how to call on my beloved so that I could realize my dream of starting family and building retreat centers and to teach people how to come back to the earth, which is the vision that I received. And luckily, I realized that I wasn't going to find her living out of my backpack in my truck in my storage unit, that I needed to find a space fit for a queen. And I needed to um, invite her in, become a beacon of the love that I am. And I ended up on a walking vision quest, and I ended up at a place called Reva's Mountain School. A guy named Peter Bigfoot ran the place, and we had the same size shoes, and we hit it off, and he begged me to come live with him. And he gave me a yurt at the top of his property. It was on the other side of the creek next to the giant granite rock, and it was called a yurpee. It was a cross between a teepee and a yurt. And it had windows on all sides and a beautiful bed and couch. And I moved only into half of it, and I cleaned all the other shelves, and I waited. And 4 months later, this little medicine woman, Shannon Tinder, showed up. And at that time, I was Nathan Zabrowski, my warrior name, my football name. I played football for University of Utah. And it took me a little while to realize that I've been telling this fire story, which ends, with the spark of life that you put into your Tinder bundle, your womb of creation. And it's still, after you've done all of that, created all that space, gathered all the tools, it still takes the breath of the creator to blow that life into flame. And I realized that Shannon Tinder was the Tinder bundle, the womb of creation that I wanted to pray with. And here I am in medicine land. Oh, stay. Put some seed on the fire for that. Thank you.
Aho, brother. Yeah, that answers the question.
Thank you so much for sharing. I feel like we got your story, but also a lot of what makes you you, including your big heart and how much you love your life and your partner. So thank you for sharing who you are and how you got to this place. And you actually answered a couple of my questions in there too. I was going to ask you about the hearth um, and also your lineage. You speak about your lineage, and I'm curious. And I heard you talk before on your Instagram about your cosmovision, and I'm curious where that sort of comes from.
Well, the lineage that I learned from honors the 7 directions. And the 7 directions, we have the East. And, I also I hear you guys talking about the 4 altars. And so depending on where we live, what direction we come from, what our cosmology is, we're going to put our altars into different directions. It doesn't matter what direction we put them in. The only thing that matters is that we remember all of them. And so in the cosmovision where I live, we put in the east, I put the sun, the air, and inspiration and communication. And then in the south, for me, it's the fire. It's the yang energy of the universe. It's the doing. And it's also where we find the volcano, majority of the volcanoes below me, and also the plant medicines, San Pedro and tobacco lineages that I've learned from come from a lot from the south. And then in the west here, the west has the water, the ocean. And for me, that's celebration. It is honoring the emotional waters, the inner and outer waters of life. And then in the north, we have the mountain or the earth. But I like to think about it as the mountain because it's a metaphor that as long as we live in sight of the mountain, our family will prosper forever. That's that wisdom, that integration, that quiet, the north, when we go inward and we listen to the wisdom of our grandfathers and our grandmothers. And then below we have Mama Earth, or the direction below. It's the negative polarity, the Earth polarity. And then above we have the stars. And then in the center we have the hearth, the inward direction. We can imagine the first 6 directions as the infinite outward directions. Even though we talk about 6 directions, it's infinite directions. And then the center is infinite directions inward, inwards towards our heart. The earth is infinite directions inward. And so I use this lineage, the 7 directions, the 7 arrows, as a way to orientate myself in ceremony and also to orientate each other. And so, for instance, we do 4 mesas, 4 rounds, 4 altars, 4 directions as well in ceremony. Actually, I slip a 5th in, which is my favorite part because I learned the 5th is actually where most of the work goes, which I can explain a little bit further in this process. But the east is the communication round. It's where we establish the boundaries for the container, where we express our thanksgivings and our intentions. This is us communicating what we're here to do. What is my quantum question that I am here to learn? And then the idea is we state these boundaries, get really clear, put some love, some breath into it, and then we let them go and we do the work. So we close that round, we open up the south round, which is the fire round, which sometimes I'll give the little fire stories, and talk about the terretic energy field and how it moves through our spine. And each chakra center is a vortex of energy. And how can we learn to breathe it through and play with that center? And so I like to tell the fire story. Sometimes, it just depends on where we're at, what space I'm working in, whether it's a daytime, nighttime, half daytime, half nighttime. My favorite ceremonies, let's meet at 4:00 in the morning at the garden at the sacred fire, and we'll drink 4 cups of medicine. And then our in-between round is the longest one, and we commune and listen to the plants. They tell us stories and give us songs. Booyah! So fun. But anyways, that south round, I like to do breath, especially. So we identify good feelings, bad feelings in our body, and I teach different types of breath play, different ways to move energy. Because if I just do it in the one way that works for me, maybe that quiet person that doesn't like to make noise won't find benefit in the way I breathe. Unless they actually do try it, they might find it, but they're not ready for that yet. And so we play around so that everyone can find their little niche. And I like to think about it the same way. I do 4 different kinds of breath. I do, for each altar. I'm just like we did. Let's do that breath right now I showed you guys in the beginning, because this breath is the 4 directions. So let's all take a big, long breath into the here and now. Big, long breath. Let her go. Another breath. Let's let go of any energies that are not here to serve us. Any old stories, beliefs, or currencies, commitments, and promises. Big, long breath. And then let it go with some noise. One more breath, inviting all directions of support, inviting our infinite self in and holding it. Big, long breath. Hold it. Now bring a little bit more of yourself in. And then let it go when you're ready. That one comes with a little bit of I get high on my own supply feeling. Oh, I like that one. And then one breath to surrender. And that when we surrender, it's a slow, slippery breath. Okay, so that's one form of breath work. And then we have so many other ways to play. And I like to think about it as play, because I'm not really into work. I can play and work at the same time. In fact, our prayers are called pray and play ceremonies. How can we bring in the sacred silly? This is not a prayer performance. This is not here to just be like, I'm the best singer. Well, why don't I try to sing awful and see what comes out? Maybe I'll find something cool. Well, I'm hanging out with a bunch of weirdos. I can do that. Yay! So I really, it's like if we can live in that space in between, we can go deep. If we want to go deep, let's be deep. But then let's lighten our load and laugh about it. I just heard Wavy Gravy say on TikTok or something the other morning that the universe, this life, is a pressure cooker, and laughter is the release valve. So if you don't laugh, you will explode all over the universe. And then we move from the breath work. We'll do either a guided drum journey. My wife takes us into Mount Shasta. When we're on Mount Shasta, where I found a hot spring in the middle, when was rebirthed and given a baby dragon to ride out of the mountain. Pretty cool. And we also do sound healings, or just to ease out, just give a little love after we do all that breath play, moving energy. And then then we move into my favorite round, which is the in betwixt round, which I didn't do this round until 4 years ago. I started practicing this round. It really changed the ceremony deeply, because it's a lot of work to sit up and pay attention and to be involved in everyone's process. And that's one of the things I always tell people. If you're feeling overly challenged by this ceremony, please lie down, put some earplugs in, your face mask on, and check out. Or go lie down in the garden. I have beds. I'll have a bed just for people to have checkout space, so they know there's a safe place where they can be quiet and people won't be talking and there won't be interference. They can go within and have some yummy, delicious elixirs and electrolyte drinks, or snacks and fruit. We leave little yummy things around, chocolate, so that there's can be you can go inside. But most people are so enthralled with the experience they don't want to miss out on it. So the Southwest is an undetermined amount of time, me being the determiner, or my other facilitators will tell me it's time, that we Southwest. So you get your work done for the day. It used to be we would take a siesta, or we'd go for a wander, or we'd drink tea, we'd have plant time, smoke, be with each other, giggle, play a game. And so I offer that space. Bring a journal. Go sit with the plantes. Go enjoy some nature time. Sit and stare into the fire. We'll keep the fire quiet during the space. Having space for reflection, introspection is really important. Also, it's okay for people to talk. I play places where people can talk and have conversations, because the most epiphanific conversations will happen where somebody notices something about you that you've never noticed, and you can notice something about them that they've never noticed. And it's like guru tennis. Like, I noticed this and you noticed that, and we just keep getting better and better, and the scores love, and everybody wins. And then also that's where we work with hape. Hape is powdered tobacco mixed with ash, and we make our own hape now. The goal is all the medicine that we serve in the garden comes from the garden. I don't serve any medicine that doesn't come from the garden, so we have full account and association. And yeah, we serve hape, we do limpias, we do dance parties, bubble blessings. Try to get creative, come up with something that we've never done before, try something new. And then, yeah, make sure also people are feeding and nourishing themselves. Usually people don't get super hungry, but there are people who get really hungry. And if they're hungry in ceremony, they're going to be hangry. They're going to have a hard time being present for the prayer. So we help guide them through nutrition and how to stay hydrated. We always, before I serve the medicine, at the water around, anytime things get squirrely, I serve magnesium citrate, usually a couple different kinds of magnesium. That really helps with headaches. We serve salt because we're doing tons of brain work and we're depleting our minerals when we're doing this work. So, it says I'm not connected. Are you guys still seeing me?
And we lost him.
I almost ran off into the wilderness there.
Okay,
Ashe.
here we are. Ashe. So something first of all, I'm so excited that you talked about pray and play, because that is something that I feel super close to my heart and something that the medicine has taught me and brought out of me, as far as like who I think I am in the world, is like this cross section between prayerful and playful. So thank you for talking about that. It really resonates with me. And I'm curious about your connection to Huachuma San Pedro. You know, we talked about how you got to this place and how you study and how you sort of conduct and hold your containers, but I'm curious more personally how you relate to the medicine. And I know you refer to it sometimes as your guru and as your teacher. And yeah, just curious about your personal relationship with it.
Oh, that's a great question. I love exploring relationship. And yeah, San Pedro for me, it's been it's been a love affair. It's been hard. It's been everything in between. But yeah, it's been a plant that it's subtle in that it works by invitation, not by being loud, proud. And it was around me for a while before I really noticed it. And it it came to me, through invitation, through subtlety. And it was an instant recognition, like an instant relationship. Like, I've known you forever. Well, that sparked my curiosity. Who are you? And at the time, I could find things on YouTube about it. And then I found books on Amazon. But most of all, I found plants. And I found myself extremely interested in staring at them. And when I came home from a long trip course, I'd go say hi to my wife and my kids and get smooches and kisses. But I really just wanted to go see how much my plants grew. And then I wanted to say hi to them. Yeah, this fascination and curiosity, curiosity killed the cat. Well, curiosity kind of killed my logical brain. And one of the names for Huachuma is, or what San Pedro is Huachuma. That's why I've heard you guys talk about it a lot. And Huachuma means cut off your head. And it really more means cut off the ego, because the head can serve us. And it's learning how to, what I've realized is our memories are stored in our belly, not in our head. So if we want to know what's real, not the stories that we've created, that we need to let go of those stories and listen. And so for me, what Shima means listen to myself beyond my story. And I fell in love with the plants like deeply. I would buy as many different kinds as I could, buy different clones. You can get different kinds of plants that are, this one's called landfill, and it was found in a landfill. It's a trichocereus is what I heard Hamid say in the podcast. I've always said trichocereus. Well, it's apples, oranges, banana, or banana.
I think you're correct.
And so this one is Trichocereus pachinoi, and this one's got short spines. It gets really fat, has a blue hue to it, and it has like two little spines coming out of it. And it was found in a landfill in California, and now its name is Landfill. So this is a clone we can track. Well, this one is extremely powerful in ceremony, but grounded. This is earth energy. Pachinoi is earth energy. Pachinoi, oi, oi, pachinoi, oi, oi. So, I found these and then I started studying them by growing them. And then when you grow a San Pedro, you want it to get at least 3 feet before you cut it. And the idea is you leave a foot on the bottom to regenerate. You use the middle for ceremony, and you plant the tip. And this is the code that the plant gave to me for propagating them regeneratively. And so what that means is every time you make medicine, you're doubling your medicine supply. Most of the time I give them away because it just feels so good to help someone start their own garden and to, I really believe that these are technologies, and any technology worth its weight, worth being real, something to put our energy and invest in, is a technology to be shared with freely. And so that's something I've really taken to heart, is like I give this medicine away as much as I can, because the more I give, the more my medicine supply doubles, the more relationships I gather. And it feels good, So what are ways that I can reduce stress and cortisol in my life so that I can feel good? Well, giving gifts and being thankful for the gifts I receive is the best way to, it's a really high vibration. So we always start ceremony with Thanksgiving to get us into that high vibration of receiving. And so, the pachinoids are amazing. The first plant I got, though, was this plant. And it's Trichocereus bridgesii. And this one I call fire. And this one is skinny with long spines, very blue in hue. And it's, even brought its central channel in tighter. And the spines are very masculine and protective. So the spinier they are, the more masculine the energy of the plant is. And a lot of people call Huachuma grandfather, like people call tobacco grandfather. But there's feminine tobacco plants and masculine tobacco plants. There's feminine San Pedro plants and masculine San Pedro plants, or feminine, masculine. And they're all somewhere in between, right? And so I like to think about it in ceremony. Not only are we holding the directions, but the plants are holding directions. And when I work with Huachuma or really any other plant medicine, I'm going to invite grandmother and grandfather tobacco, tobaquito, and tobaquita. It's grandmother and grandfather. They're one side of my family. And then I'm going to invite grandmother and grandfather Huachuma, Huachimito, Huachumita into this space. And they're going to hold directions and they're going to hold the container so that our job is easier. And so this one is fire, and this is the most fiery and also the strongest plant I ever worked with, and these are the first ones that I got off eBay. And bridge SCI means bridger of worlds. It's the bridge, it's the rainbow bridge. And with this plant, we can see all the way to the other end of the rainbow, that pot of gold. This is where we know we're going. This has a ton of energy in it. It makes you want to move, shake, dance, and breathe. If you learn how to work with that energy, you can go into visionary spaces with it where you can see what your purpose is and why you're here and what you've been doing in this planet and in the solar system, in this reality. And you can work on other planes of reality too. And so this has been one of my greatest teachers, this plant, watching it grow, propagating it, sharing it, and listening to what it has to say. And then, the story just goes on and on. This plant here is Scopulicola crossed with pachinoid. So Trichocereus scopulicola is a feminine plant. It's almost spineless. I wonder if I have a pure one here. This one is almost pure. This one is actually a bit of guru lineage. This one's smooth, feminine, watery. So this one's known as aguacoya, which in the North Country they call the plant aguacoya. And aguacoya means column of water, but they revere it as the queen of the waters. They use it for divination, inner waters and outer waters. It's smooth. It's usually more voluptuous than this. This one is a mutated one, and it's of the Buddha Guru lineage. Buddha Guru is of the same lineage. And Buddha Guru lost his head, and he laughed so hard that he cracked it. I don't know if you guys can see that way up there. But he laughed so hard he cracked his face. And then I was like, I had Buddha Guru's body, and I was like, oh, I'll just put a plant cutting in there. And then he turned into Buddha Guru. He had the space. And the reason I call him Buddha Guru is because he sits. He always answers my questions with the same answer: silence. And he has really learned how to sit proud and be present. And he is my greatest teacher. So he is my guru. He is my guru. I sit with him. I bring him everywhere. He rides shotgun. He informs me of my decisions. And he loves to play, and he loves to pray. He loves to party. He loves festivals. He's pretty much like me. It's so weird. So he has become my reflection. And when it's like, how do I feel about this plant? Well, what I've realized is I am not cultivating this plant any longer. I'm not growing it. I am being grown. I am being cultivated. This plant is cultivating compassion in our community, in my family. It's it's creating empathy, because when we actually sit with a plant, we develop empathy for it. We develop love. the more that I sit with this plant and love it and admire its beauty, the more I feel loved and admired back. It's a direct, reciprocal, flowing relationship that I can feel. And in fact, I've tracked this phenomenon back, and I found paintings from the late 1800s of a man in his bank office surrounded by ledgers and chaos. And he's staring at his window, and his face is in the ray of light, and there's 2 cactus plants on his window, and he's staring at them. So this is a common phenomenon. Some of my friends call it like men who stare at cactus, like men who stare at goats. And it's an easy way. Like people go all the way to India. They go to Peru. They go all over creation looking for great teachers. Well, what if you could just bring your teacher into your living room and learn to listen, learn how to ask the right questions, learn how to be curious. Maybe, we plant a tobacco seed. They say one tobacco seed has all the information we need to solve all of our problems, limitations, and health concerns. I have a plant that was gifted to me when I received our garden space. I was praying and I had to move out of my mountain property where I had grown medical cannabis for years and learned from that plant. And I sold it so that I could live in Ashland, Oregon, which is an expensive place to live, highly competitive. And I switched from doing that work to becoming a healer and massage therapist. And so, yeah, I put the prayer out there, and my friend who grows flowers, who lived by me deep in Trinity County, Northern California, behind the curtain, she had a flower farm there, and she invited me, and they gave me a third of an acre of land down by the creek that was overgrown, had an old garden in it, and it was gnarly and overgrown. Like, if you want to deal with that space, you can have it for $50 a month. And I was like, it's a community garden across the creek from the well springs, which has 7 sacred springs, and has been the land of we all forever. People put aside their differences, the tribes put aside any differences, and they would come to the waters to bathe and to pray. And so the ground where the garden sits on, when I walk it and during the day with the medicine, I can hear the songs and the song lines. And those songs and those ceremonies we have connected right back into, and we're listening, and they're coming through our voices. And this prayer for Hummingbird Hearth, Eagle Mill Farm, becoming the man who owns it wants it to be a community center. He's been holding it that way as long as he can. He's in his late 70s, and he's asked the next generations to step up. And so the vision I received was to buy the land for community, to buy land for ceremony, but most importantly, to buy the land for the plants so that the plants have ownership in the land, and we can create consent through ceremony on how we work with plants, how we break ground in our community, how we build temples on Mount Shasta. And so, who's growing who? It's been a fantastic relationship. That one tobacco plant that Melanie gave me is now 8 years old. That one plant has made millions of seeds. If we planted all of those seeds, tobacco would be everywhere. The hummingbirds would be everywhere. Our pollinators would be fed and happy. The tobacco remediates soil. It brings nitrogen into the soil, kills the bugs that eat the roots. It's a natural fertilizer or insecticide. The other plants absorb that through their roots, and life becomes healthier and happier. If we practice and plant the tip of our medicine forward and plant the seeds that grow in our garden, we're 7 years away from freedom, 7 years away from the Garden of Eden, 7 years away from self-realization, is what the plant said. So yeah, that's kind of, I'm down 21 years into this vision, and the garden is now 9 years old. 7 years ago, I received a vision during an ayahuasca ceremony to plant San Pedro, which I had started planting, but make sure I plant tobacco, sage, and sweetgrass, and learn from those plants and share what I've learned from the plants. I've sat in lots of ceremonies. I have lots of other teachers, but the vision I received was to share what the plants have to say, be a translator and a guide for the plants. I don't look at myself as a shaman because I don't understand that lineage. I'm not from Russia, but I look at myself as a guide, an interpreter, a creator of safe space, and a tender of the sacred fire. And my favorite way to tend the sacred fire is to tend the hearts of the people that tend the fire, which is everyone. And my goal is that we all become fire tenders and that we can feel safe and know how to work with fire again, how to create new fires, regenerative fires, and do that in our gardens with our friends and family, where laughter fills the empty space and the yummy smells coming from the garden tantalize all of our senses. Yeah, that's what my relationship from growing San Pedro has brought me. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's so beautiful to see your plants too. I have ordered plant from you a long time ago,
What
and
did you get? You remember what kind it is?
it was a Peruvianus, I believe. Have it around here somewhere, and spectacular, beautiful energy.
This
I
is a Peruvianus.
Oh, there we go. Look
They
at that.
get big. Like this one's almost as big as my arm, but and Peruvianus is outward. Yeah, it's very masculine, big spines, but it's even a little more feminine and grounded. But it's like daytime, like awake, and play all day. Oh, and these ones also the Icaros DNA, which is a particular kind from Matacuna. Icaros DNA means the healing songs of our ancestry. And so when we drink it with the intention to recover our songs, because we all come from a broken lineage. The Huachuma lineage was broken. And so what we're doing is we're bypassing the lineage and we're going right to the plants. And so when we use the Icaros DNA, it's a very blue, even fatter Peruvianus than this. Yeah, I couldn't stop singing for still singing. So, and I was afraid to sing. So. But yeah, how big is your plant now, and have you played with it?
Yeah, it's not really grown too much, but it has rooted in. I'm in the desert, so that's one of the things I wanted to ask you about. You're in a very different climate, and um, we actually have a very difficult time in Arizona, where I'm at, with growing these cactus because it doesn't cool off enough at night for them to drink. But they will grow, and it's one of the reasons that I think the TC variety took over in the Southwest. It's a little more hardy. But you're growing up in Oregon and Mount Shasta area, or you mentioned Ashland. I'm not sure if I
Ashland,
caught
Oregon, yeah.
exactly where
It's
you're
zone
growing at.
8B, which means that it gets down to, sometimes I get down, like I've been down to 11 degrees, which is too cold for cactus. 9A is kind of the limit. So anywhere from Redding in the Central Valley all the way down to the Baja, it's safe to grow cactus outside. So yeah, this is a mountain cactus. So a lot of people want to grow it like it's a desert cactus. So we got to remember that these came from the mountains, higher elevation, where there's lots of moisture coming in through the air. And so the way the cactus works versus the way a normal plant, when the birds are singing and the morning dew is there, the birds actually signal the plants to open their stomata. So they open their little mouths and then they can breathe air in and also breathe moisture in. And so the cactus do that in the middle of the night when those clouds are low, the pressure is dropped, and the mists are in. They love that in betwixt time. Also, the soil is much richer. And so to wherever I am, that's the kind of experience that I want to get closer to. So when you're in Arizona, most people plant them, and the first thing they mix is they give them cactus dirt, which is high in minerals, low in organic matter and food. That works great for a cactus that's used to eking it out in the heat, but not great for San Pedro or Huachuma that's used to mountains and lots of food and nutrients and growing really fast. And so first thing, you want to put them in like a bed or a pot with rich soil. In fact, you're going to use even richer soil than you would normally use in Arizona than a climate like mine. I need more lava rock, perlite, pumice. I don't use perlite anymore because perlite ends up in our streams, floats on the top, and gets in the insects' bellies and also the fish. And it's like little glass shards that we puffed. And those little glass shards get into everything. And so that's a big problem, Northern California, where people are growing all over the sides of the mountains to grow weed full of perlite, and that just all goes down into our water systems. So you putting pumice, or you can use sand, granite. I like pumice because it's light, and if you move pots around like I do billions of times, in and out of greenhouses, in and out of houses, because I love them so much. I want it to be light as well. And also in this climate, it's going to rain more than in Arizona. So you want the soil to be light so it drains. Especially the Pacific Northwest, north of here, Alaska, you want way better draining soil because in the Pacific Northwest, they're going to get a lot of moisture from the air. In fact, if you live in Seattle, you rarely need to water your cactus because they're sucking moisture from the air, but they do need rich soil so they can grow. So in Arizona, rich soil, not as porous, and then you'd want to put them under shade cloth. I would say probably 50% at least, or have them under trees with dappled shade because they're getting so much heat. They need to be cooler. And then if you really want to give them the greatest love of their life, you'll give them misters that come on at night. And so that they get misted and they can suck that water in through the air, and that'll cool them down enough to take a break from the day, just like us. And also, misting them anytime you don't want to mist them in full sun because that'll burn them. But if you had a 50% shade cloth on, or even 60, 70% if it's full sun where you are, you can mist them during the day too, mist them every few hours, and they're just going to grow like crazy. And then, they respond more like a weed plant, like a cannabis plant. The more you feed them, the bigger they get. The more you water them, the faster they'll grow. So you want to be watering like every day in the middle of the heat in Arizona. I'm watering every 2 days when it's hot here, so I can only imagine what kind of environment they need there. And then also, the 25 degrees Fahrenheit is the low point. And if it goes from they've been happy and it goes to 25 overnight and it didn't give them some time to harden off, it can damage the tips of the plants. So I'll go out and put sheets on them or cover cloths if there's a big cold storm coming in. And you can get 2-ounce cover cloth that you can put on to keep frost off. And as long as the cloth is touching the ground, it'll keep them 10 degrees warmer than outside. So here where I am, it gets cold, so I keep them inside a greenhouse so their roots stay dry. If their roots are wet and the pot freezes completely, that'll kill their roots. That keeps the roots dry, and then also they're inside the greenhouse, which keeps them like 4 degrees warmer than outside. And then I have them all under blankets. Every single plant has a blanket, and I tuck them in for the winter time, and that'll keep them 10 degrees warmer. And then I have a propane heater for backup. If it gets down below 15 degrees, then I'll turn the propane heater on. And it doesn't have to be that strong of a heater, because you're just keeping it above 15 degrees, It doesn't have to be like super warm. And in my greenhouse, that's my limit. If you didn't have a cover cloth, you'd want to keep it above 22 or 25 degrees inside the greenhouse. And then, yeah, like my personal plants, I've always just brought them. My favorite time was Christmas time, because you want to leave them outside so they get cold and harden off and go dormant, go to sleep. And then when they go to sleep, I bring them inside to my altars, and it's Christmas time, and I get to be with my plants inside, and they bring life inside. You can grow them inside as long as they're getting at least 4 hours of light a day. They might grow skinnier than outside, but they're still going to be happy. In fact, I've seen plants that like curl around, and people are like, "What's wrong with my plant?" I was like, "Well, it just needs more light, but it's doing fine." And then inside, you get a lot more bugs. So these plants are susceptible to spider mites, thrips. The worst one is this little bug. What is it called? It's white. The name is escaping me right this second. But yeah, it gets in their roots, and it's these little white things, and it really gets into the monsters. Like this is a San Pedro that has crested. So this is a mutation. This is called crustacean. And also, it growing in a big bunch like this is not normal. This is Buddha Guru's apprentice. He has no name, but he's working on it. He's a slow learner. So it's okay. You be as thick as long as you want. And that's really what got me into the seed thing, was that you can, that PC plant that came in 1913 has spread everywhere. So the vision I received was like Johnny Appleseed. Johnny Appleseed would plant thousands of trees, and he'd get people to caretake them for him. And then he'd come back and look for good apples, and he would take all the grafts, and he'd take it, and he would graft the trees, and he'd start making good apple trees. And we still eat his apples today. Still same clones from this guy, Johnny Appleseed. But while he was there, doing his work, he would make a brew out of all the other apples. And then he would gather the people, and he was a reverend, and he would fiddle and spread his gospel with the spirit of the apple sauce running through everybody's veins. And I thought, wow, that's a great idea. And then if you plant thousands of seeds, you find these rare genetic anomalies like Buddha Guru. And now Buddha Guru, I've spread into so many different cuttings, and he has progeny. He's already started breeding. They make flowers. So a Huachuma flower is this big, giant white trumpet. And I like to imagine heaven, right? Heaven has these giant Huachuma plants as the gates of heaven, and they're in forever flower. And they're spreading their heavenly scent so that we can find our way home. And then like a PC plant, if you have two PC plants growing side by side, they can't breed together. They can only breed with a different genetic variety. And so I take like a feather, and I'll take the pollen from one, and then I'll pollinate the other one. And it's fun. Actually, my wife, I came home after pollinating the garden one morning, and she's like, "Oh, you've been making flower love again, haven't you?" Because I'll just get Twitter baited. And I'm a bee, bzz, 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 bzz. And then it makes this big, delicious fruit with like 1,000 seeds in it. You can eat the fruit. You can make it into fantastic brews, libations, and you can also save the seeds and grow them. And out of Buddha Guru's progeny, you'll have a higher rate of freaks like him. And the only reason these freaks exist is because I've taken the time to listen to my whims and amplify what I'm attracted to. And I had a knee transplant, so stopped my forward motion in life. I was in a wheelchair for a long time, stuck in my bedroom, having that cathartic experience. What am I going to do with myself? And then my wife helped me make a little greenhouse and put some fluorescent lights on the shelf next to my room. And I finally planted those seeds that were in my junk drawer. And that's when this Johnny Appleseed vision came through, because like waking up every day to see if they sprouted, it was so exciting. I had my magnifying glass. I'd call my kids, look what sprouted. And then about 5-6 days later, they developed 2 little tiny horns. And they're like, me. And it was just so exciting. And it brought my connection back to the earth. And then I got addicted to starting seeds and buying them on the internet and researching the different kinds. And that's what I did for 6 months while I was healing. And it was very helpful for my healing experience. And so, yeah, what I've found is there's associative addictions and dissociative addictions. And prayer for me is an associative addiction, just as working out can be an associative addiction for somebody. And so I started a group called Prayeraholics Anonymous. If prayer gets in the way of your family life, your social life, let's come sit in prayer and talk about it. But that's just a joke that once we open this door to what a prayer really can be for us, it does become addictive to get more clear, to learn how to listen, and to ask quantum questions. Is just kind of like, oh my gosh, I have not been bored since the day that I opened that book at Barnes and Noble and got answers to this question that I was asking. And then that opened up that flow waterfall of curiosity that I don't even have an opportunity to be bored in life. And I can barely watch TikTok, which is nice every now and again. So, although TikTok's gone crazy, I don't know.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I've had some fun with seeds, but it's been at least 8 years since I tried, because it's very difficult for me, and I love your opinion and advice and experience to take those tiny little seedlings that sprout so easily and usher them to the next phase of life where they actually start to develop into little cactus. It seems like I lost a lot in that process.
Yeah, the first few years are hard. Well, actually, the first 6 months, maybe. Then once you get them to like fingerling size, then they are way easier to work with. But basically, I just sprinkled the seeds in a pot, put them in a little greenhouse, kept them humid, and now I will be tearing them. I'll break them in half and half and half, and I have these little seedlings, and then I can plant them in my greenhouse, and they're ready to go, as long as they're not in too hot of a space or too much sun. These guys will be, like this size by the end of the year. Next year, they can get up to 9 inches to a foot. Once you get them to a foot, they grow a foot every year. Then you cut them, then they make 2 branches. Those grow a foot each year. You cut those ones, they make 4 branches, and then they start growing out the bottom. And every single column starts to make more branches. And now my greenhouses look like this, but with big plants. They're just big seas of green. And if we don't harvest them, they would be unhappy. So, it's, in fact, so last year, the indigenous people of Peru put a big warning out to us that psycho-spiritual tourism And the export of Huachuma is deforesting Huachuma. And they have asked us to stop importing medicine for our own spiritual, touristic use. And they asked us to start growing our own medicine, and they would love to share any bit of technology they have with us about these plants and what they've learned. And they heard about my project. This is the Huachuma Collective. It's a movement that they started, and they need donations. In fact, all the ceremonies and all of the donations we receive, I send a portion of that I'm sending it to the Huachuma Collective. I'm also paying, that's how I pay the tip of the energy of the ceremonies forward, because we're sharing currency. And they've asked us to stop. They heard about my project, and they don't know very well how to grow Huachuma. It grows wild. They've never even considered there's lots of medicine women, medicine men who grow gardens, but it's never been really grown on a bigger scale for the purpose of medicine. And I think there's a few people doing little bits here and there, but they're like, well, how do we get it from seed to plant? So they sent a filmmaking crew who's making a documentary. They're kind of stuck right now looking for donations. I'll put all that links together for us all. And they're doing a documentary, Cut Off the Head, Huachuma Cut Off the Head. And it's a 6-part series about Huachuma and what's really going on. And they came and videoed. I taught them how to grow Huachuma in the way that I've learned. Everyone's going to have different ways, but this is what the plants have taught me, how to cultivate it on larger scale. And so we made videos. We did all of that, and we have videos of all the steps that I'll be able to share. Pretty sure I can share at least the how to do the seeds link with you guys now, and then I'll be able to find links for how to share more about that project. And they were just like, yes, you're doing this. And I used to import medicine for ceremony years ago, but I felt once the garden was aged enough, it takes 7 years from seed to ceremony, to start from seed to get to a 3-foot plant that's ready to be harvested regeneratively. And so that's a commitment, right? Like from seed to ceremony, it's like people, come to a ceremony and we're asking reciprocity for a ceremony. And they think, it's just us showing up and serving some medicine and some sacrament, and they get, and they wonder why is there reciprocity involved when this is something that should be for everyone. Well, this journey started 21 years ago of thought and presence and careful cultivation. And that matters. When we have full account of our medicine, full account of where these technologies came from, that matters. It makes a big difference in the safety of space and the way you can relate to yourself and to the plants. And so that's really, we're calling in Hummingbird Hearth. We're buying into this land. The owners live on Social Security, and they don't want to sell the land, but they want it to stay in the community. And so, we're calling in donations for the Hearth. We started a public ministry, the Hearth, and then we started a private ministry, Hummingbird Hearth, and we're making templates so that other people can do this really easily. And if we, join our medicine hearths together with the hearth, this sacred fire hearth of we all. This is a hearth we share. This is our lineage, and this is our birthright. The sky's the limit. We have all the tools, all the medicine that we need to bring heaven to earth. And heaven's not a place that we're trying to get to. It's already here. We just have to allow ourselves to see each other and the tools and give each other space to be heard. And so, yeah, it's really, really exciting what's happening right now, what's happening with, I've been watching, I'm on like Facebook groups for cactus. And I don't know how many dudes and women, but mostly dudes, have gotten the call to start seeds, and they've got these giant gardens like growing out of their backyards. And they're like, what am I going to do with all this? Because when they did it, they could sell San Pedro on the internet and make a little bit of money on it and justify to their wives and their girlfriends and their husbands that this was actually something worth doing, honey. I swear it's going to work out. I swear. And she's like, but there's cactus everywhere. And they're bringing them inside. I can't stand this. I'll tell you what, my wife got so jealous of my garden. Like, holy cow. She's like, I can't believe you're actually following through with the seeds that you started. And she's like, because I give them love and attention. Yeah. So.
Thank you so much, Nathan. And thank you for bringing up about the Huachuma Collective, because they're doing really amazing preservation work. They have a garden in Peru. We started a garden too in Peru, basically for the same reasons. And it's amazing to see all the people that are doing the growing. I'm in those same groups. And I know friends here, you go in their backyard and you can't even walk. It's just not.
Who's growing who?
Yeah, who's growing who? Exactly. So that's beautiful, and we look forward to seeing those videos you mentioned, and anything you want to share, anything that you would like to promote. We'd be happy to do that and get the word out for what you're looking to spread and create.
Well, I'd like to just talk a little bit about microdosing. So yeah, microdosing is a huge thing right now. Microdosing mushrooms, psilocybin, microdosing LSD, and it's like this is a subtle medicine. So how do we get this medicine into the hearts of the people in a way that's digestible, in a way that can be done in our daily lives? Not everyone's going to have the time to take a weekend or to do a trip to Peru. So how can we use this medicine in our daily lives that is safe and effective? And so, microdosing San Pedro, whether you're eating the plants of your garden or getting medicine from other people, has been phenomenal. And the way you microdose San Pedro is you pick a container. Maybe it's a week, maybe it's one day. I recommend 14 to 30 days. And you start your day with that. Maybe after you've had your morning routine, you've had some tea before you ingest food. I don't recommend combining it right in the same coffee window because Huachuma, even at a microdose level, is a little bit of a stimulant. And you take the time to set an intention. What am I reprogramming in my life? Maybe I'm letting go of a gnarly habit. Maybe I'm letting go of letting go, maybe I'm calling in abundance and my ability to follow through with what I say I'm going to do, which, by the way, that is the power of our prayer. When we do what we say we're going to do, and we do the best we can, we just get better and better at it. And that's how our word is the power of our prayer. And so, you ingest a little bit of it. There's many different ways to ingest it. You can make a tea. You can dry it, powder it. When you dry it and powder it, it's high in silica, harder on your liver and your body. When you eat it raw, when you cook it, it takes out some of the silica and makes it easier to digest. Also, what we do, which I highly recommend to everyone, free piece of technology that has changed so much about how I serve and work with this plant. But I make a really clean tea, cook it down till it's concentrated, decanter it in the fridge, which means I let it sit in the fridge for like 4 days so all the particulates and plant matter fall to the bottom. Then I pour that off and I either dehydrate it in a dehydrator or in the sun, which is a great way. But we started freeze drying it. And what the freeze dryer does is it creates crystalline Huachuma. It's like, I don't know, it's just beautiful. Crystalline Huachuma flakes. And then the way it works is they let it absorb into your mouth and it bypasses the liver and it's really, really clean. You'll get stomach discomfort, shortens the journey duration, and it's easier overall, less tough on the system. And so, yeah, you can grind this up, put it into capsules. You can mix it with lion's mane or other mushrooms to enhance the effect. If you mix it with psilocybin, it works great. But one of the things people have microdose psilocybin, it makes us more spatially aware, more right-brained. And for me, I'm already pretty right-brained and I'm spatially expansive. So if I microdose mushrooms, I get more expansive, and I don't really need that in my life right now. If I was just hanging out by the river all the time, that sounds cool. But the Huachuma clarifies and organizes. And if you mix it with lion's mane, it enhances the the neural connections in the brain, the body, and the system. And then what Chima does is it also alkalizes the body. Anything you eat, any medicine you choose to receive during the day is going to work better. People are using it to get off of methadone and different medications that you need to titrate down on because you can use half as much and it works just as good. And then you can keep titrating down by using the Huachuma to help. And then the Huachuma goes in and lets you know what's happening inside of ourselves. The way I like to describe it is we have channels, energetic channels. And when we receive trauma, which all of us have because it's traumatic being human, we're in a life of chaos right now. And we're seeing people make poor choices around us and it hurts. And so we close off our channels, our ability to feel in different places in our body, and our body records that somatically. And so what the Huachuma does is it goes in there and it tickles those receptors and says, do you know you're closed? And the receptors say, yes, I know I'm closed. And I like being that way. And then the next day, Huachuma comes in and tickles it. And they're like, oh, yeah, I'm closed. Yeah, I know you said that last time. And then eventually, if you keep going consecutive days, that channel, you'll choose to open it because you'll choose to feel. And it's really nice because in ceremony, so many feelings can come up at once. You're purging, you're having epiphanic experiences, and you can live a lifetime in a day with Huachuma. So to break that ceremony down over 14 days or 30 days makes it highly digestible. And what people describe is that every day they're walking backwards into themselves. If they know they will be experiencing more emotion, they can accept that and move through it, not identify with it. Some people will start taking in like, well, I started fighting with my husband all the time. Or I just felt sad and I started crying all the time. I'm like, well, that's energy that hasn't been dealt with that's moving through. Can you accept that? You don't have to figure out what it is or why it is. We're just letting go of that, releasing it back through the central fire, back through our central channel. And so, yeah, microdosing is phenomenal. It is helping people with severe ADD. It's natural ADD medicine. So anyone that has been, I would never say this as a doctor, but from bioessays and people's experiences, it can help with those kinds of things. And yeah, it's just it's heart-opening, feel-good associative medicine. So it at these lower levels, to be truly a microdose, we want to be below feeling high or altered. And so at that level where we're not high and altered, our heart is more open and we're more able to receive these messages coming from the universe. The greatest message is where our pain is. When we feel our pain, we restore our awareness. So yeah, microdosing. I can leave you guys a link for a product that we really agree with. And then I don't think it's possible to go wrong with microdosing Huachuma. Just a little bit goes a long ways, and it's a safe way for people to work with it. Especially if they can find someone to guide them through the process. There's a lot of people doing psilocybin microdose protocols. Same thing, holding a container, self-introspection, knowing energy is going to move through. So you can find people now that can help with these processes. And I noticed I was listening to you guys had a special on it. So it's time where we now have resources, and it's so exciting. So yeah, that is my little piece on that. And then the greatest way to microdose is growing the plants. Like, we don't ever have to ingest the stories people tell me and the lessons they're learning from sitting with these plants is extraordinary. I'll do master classes, I call them, or plant wisdom classes, 3-hour class where we just enjoy the flower essence. And through that flower essence and through the circle technology of the altars, then that prayer comes through and we can all feel the presence of that spirit, and our hearts are open and our tears are flowing, and the laughter just bubbles from everywhere. So. Ashe. Ashe is another way of saying we are in agreement. Like amen. And then in our community, aho has become a big one. But a lot of people they don't like us using aho. That's from their culture. And Spirit just brought Ashe through me. I think it comes from my son's name is Asher, so I think that it is from the Jewish lineage, but I'm not sure, but it just feels good. But we're just, yay, good. That's awesome. Same difference.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing. I think you somehow read my mind. Maybe the cactus was connecting us, because I was going to ask you about microdosing too. Everything I wanted to ask you just sort of came out with anyway. So thank you for.
You surprised me with something weird. Ask me a weird question.
Okay. I saw, well, I guess you already wrote about this, but you said something about another way to vibe with the cactus is wearing it around your neck. There's some studies from NASA that talk about it being like an EMF protector. I'm curious what that was about.
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, that came from that question. Is how can I get it into the hearts of the people? And so I got an idea. Was it from me or was it from them, from the cactus? I don't know. But I saw little terrarium necklaces on eBay, and you could buy a bunch of little terrarium necklaces, and they have different kinds of succulents in them. They're so cute,
Oh.
And so I was like, "Ooh, well, I could take the little seedlings and cut them and make a tiny little cutting, and then I glue it with crystals into these little terrariums." And then people can wear them about 6 months. They last, and then they root, and then they can plant. Plant that has. So we're sharing coherence. So this is a plant of coherence. It's brought its leaves in and brought its central channel in, and it's a master of coherence. Let's see if I can figure this out, how to hold this plant without hurting myself. Oops. And so they're literally a torus energy channel. This is a Toraflex toy, and I use it for teaching. Oh, it's really stuck on there. So these plants have become a central channel. Central channel is the sacred fire and is represented by our fire stick. This is a central channel. These actually are hollow and have a pithy center. And so the cactus has brought its leaves and has come into perfect geometry, right? This is sacred geometry, also a star. Each plant is connected to a different star system, has a different energetic pattern. And they're creating a coherent energy field. Well, negative energy or degenerative thought beliefs or thought systems, they're chaotic. And chaotic energy will go around coherent energy. Just as like sound healing, right? Sound healing is really us getting onto the same beat. A tuning fork has a beat of, for instance, a C is 124, I believe. Well, when you slow that down, it's a drum beat, right? What that does is we create boundaries. A boundary is a beat. In between the beat, we have spaciousness. That spaciousness gives us space inside our bodies to be coherent and to rest and to be in a clear system without chaos. So sound healing is in training our bodies and our spirits to be on the same beat with nature, with what's happening now, because there's a phenomenon, beats line up. Whenever there is a beat, the other tuning forks will tune and come into alignment with that same beat. Well, the cactus are coherent energy. They're like broadcast. They're a crystal that's broadcasting energy. You put a crystal next to it, it's going to broadcast that crystalline energy. And the Peruvians planted at their doorstep to protect them from negative energy. And I've heard it described as like a bulldog that'll chase negative energy away. But this plant just sits. And it's so coherent that like people literally, I'll have a truck full of cactus driving all over. Most people don't even see it. I'm like, what? You can't see this beautiful thing because their just brains skip over it. That's not in their coherent field or reality. And so what we were finding is like super hyper kids, we'd give them a necklace and they would just come into relaxed presence. I'm like, whoa, that is so fascinating, right? And their parents were like, it's just so much calmer when they wear that necklace and they love their necklace and they talk to it. And then I was like, oh, that's such a great idea. And then I like shared it on my cactus groups and people were ripping on me that it's cactus abuse. And I put them in a little terrarium and I was abusing the cactus. And so I asked the cactus, and I could take them to festivals and give them away and was selling them. But mostly I gave them away because people didn't want to spend $20 on a little thing like at the time. People were less aware. And anyways, they showed me the dance floor and being this little cactus on a string and being whipped around. And they showed me what it looked like from their perspective with all the lights and all the people and then being whipped around, people dancing. And they showed me all the crazy, wacky conversations they were a part of, like, it's so cool. We have done things cactus has never done before. So they didn't feel like they were abused. And then people planted them, and I have friends that send me pictures of those necklaces, and they're 7 feet tall with giant branches, and like they're out there. I don't know. I probably have started, I don't know, a lot of seeds, close to 80,000 seeds now, and somehow I've got them all over now. And what they've showed me is they're the tips of condors' wings carrying the prayers to heaven, but actually bringing heaven to the prayers. Pretty fun.
Amazing. Do you sell those like on Etsy? How do you get
we're
one
gonna
of your
start making them again now that I just need to cultivate some currency because I'm the only guy I could pay to do this, and I ran out of time because I had more things to grow and more ceremonies to cultivate than sitting there super gluing little tiny cactus into terrariums and putting it all together. I mean, that's my favorite. I'm a big hairy fairy, so I really like doing those kinds of things, but I haven't taken the time in the recent years. But we're things are happening fast, and yeah, we're calling in support so that we can really. My purpose is to be an interpreter, and I'm here to teach. And if I could move more into teaching than cultivating, and I do massage for a living, and this has been my hobby for a while now.
Wow. Well, I'd love to know whenever they come back out, because I would love to get, especially one from you and what you guys do. I think it'd be so special to have one and then eventually plant it and be able to wear it for a little while. I think that's so special.
And for now, you can get the seedlings and make your own, but you can get on galactic-cactus.com and you can buy plants from their seedlings. If you don't see something on the website, message me. My favorite thing to talk about. And I can put together garden starter packs. I have seedlings from what you saw today all the way up. I have big plants. I can send cuttings through the mail. That's what's really cool about these. I just put them in a box, send them away, and then you can put them in the garden, plant them, or you can use this for sacrament and plant the tip. Or it's your plant. You can do what you want with it. I give mine kisses.
I do. I give mine kisses too. I resonate a lot with how you work with your cactus.
I'm a very tactile person. I like lots of things to play with. And I'm touching the plants. I try to be really careful, but I touch the plants, feel them, eat them, taste them, put them in my mouth, put the dirt in my mouth. I can tell how good the dirt is by the way it smells. And I don't know. It's just these plants teach. So growing plants teaches intuition. Intuition is really, really powerful. So I look at that plant and I'm like, oh, it looks thirsty. So I pick it up. If the plant feels hollow, the pot feels hollow, I know it needs water. If it feels dense still, then I'll stick my finger down in it 2 inches. If I stick my finger down in 1.5 inches, 2 inches and it's still dry, I know it needs water. So then I just had like an instant experiment, so to speak. And my intuition, I either validated it or it was wrong. If I do that thousands of times a day, taking care of plants, suddenly, not take very long, I become very intuitive. I learn how to listen. And so what I've learned from the plants, I've brought into my massage practice. I've learned to listen to the body. I hear what people are telling me about the body, but I go directly to the body and communicate with it. And when a body feels heard and listened to, then it relaxes and starts to tell stories. And the same thing, with the plant world. And I took my massage practice and brought it into the way I massage the earth and the way I work with the plants. I touch everything. I feel everything. In fact, having thousands of spines enter my hands has made them more sensitive. So pain restores awareness.
Wow. Amazing. When we took that little internet break for a second, I was telling Hamid how much I want to come play in your garden. I was like, it just sounds like such an amazing, magical place. And I just kept imagining coming there one day.
Where do you live?
Cape Cod, Massachusetts.
Cape Cod.
Yeah, like the exact opposite.
Over here. Come on over, Rover.
One day. One day.
Lovely. But, I might be going to do a ceremony soon here. So that wouldn't be too far. Yeah, I travel all over. I work on request.
Yeah, answer the call.
People put together a group. I'm happy to come and share for sure. I'm a hummingbird. I just.
Good. I love that. This has been an amazing conversation with you, Nathan, and I just thank you so much for your time and your energy and your expertise and your connection, really, that you have to to Huachuma or San Pedro, whatever you want to call it. I just love your connection to it. It's very inspiring. And yeah, thanks for doing what you do for the plants and for the people's hearts, and the way that you relate to it all. I just appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank
for
you,
having
Nate.
me. I love talking about plants.
See that. See
Yeah.
that. Do you have any master classes coming up? Do you do them online?
Thanks for asking. I've been asked to teach, and so I do the master classes, especially on request. If there's people that have been requesting a lot, I'll do another class. We're creating an online one, and we do online classes sometimes, but I think we're gonna just make a nice class that people can purchase, and then also have questions and learning pamphlets as well. And then, yeah, I started a mentorship program where I'm teaching people how to use the 7 directions to create ceremony, how to work with the sacred plants, how to grow them, how to create your own hearth, how to work with altars. And the goal is it's a mentorship program. So I'm mentoring them through my experience. They're mentoring each other through their experiences together, and they're mentoring me. Because if you really want to learn something, teach it. It's like the only way to really know what you're talking about is try to explain it to somebody else. And I have I think 1 or 2 spots left in the program. It started last Wednesday, but the first 2 classes are recorded. And there's going to be a retreat that's at the end of this month, 4-day retreat. And it's two Zoom classes a month on Wednesdays. They're recorded with notes, so if you miss them, it's really fun though. The group experience in these classes, even on Zoom, it's probably cool. And then we have 4 retreats. We're going to do the first retreat in the garden. We'll make a garden together, a student garden. Learn how about San Pedro, how to process it, and we'll do an all-night fire ceremony. And then we'll have another retreat in August, which will be half in the garden preparing medicine, half up on Mount Shasta. In the True Temple, we'll be doing some walkabouts and pilgrimages and exploring sacred sites and meeting really cool, interesting beings. And then we'll do a winter retreat in February, which will be a daytime ceremony. So we'll learn about daytime ceremonies and integration and all that kinds of stuff. And then we'll do a final ceremony in June. So it's about a 14 month program. I designed it as a 13-moon program. We'll have a couple months off for integration intermixed into those times. And then the final ceremony will be half of the garden again, half of Mount Shasta, where we'll do our final initiation. And then people will know how to create ceremony in their way using the 7 directions. I will be passing what I've learned, but the idea is they'll learn how to create ceremonies for the way they do things and what their medicine is. And I'll be helping mentor them so that they can feel confident about that and how to serve and how to give back to the community, making sure that we're in reciprocity and in full consent wherever we are. And so, yeah, that you can look that up on hummingbirdhearth.com. You can also find out about all of our things at hummingbirdhearth.com. And then you can find me for bodywork at nathantinder.com. And also I do consultation services. I'm a death doula. I do wedding ceremonies. I starting a Mula program, which is like a doula program, but it's where we'll be holding the sacred fire outside when birth is happening and be the gatekeeper, and also help the men through what they're experiencing. I wish I had that person for my birth, for our births. And I don't know, it kind of goes on and on. I do vision quests. I support vision quests. Yeah, I like having fun. I'm really good at throwing parties. So if you ever want to have a birthday party, let's talk.
Um, Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, having a birthday party at your cactus garden sounds like a dream come true for me.
We're gonna be we're doing a celebration called Agua in July, which will be a fundraiser for the hearth. We're calling them
What day is it?
fundraisers instead of fundraisers. July 18th.
That's my
July.
birthday.
Hey, Terry, come
That is my
celebrate.
birthday.
Hey, maybe you should come have your birthday in the garden, sister.
What? For Agua Day? Come on.
It's also Kristar. She's one of my students, Krista, who completed my program. We did a birthday gathering for her last year. It was so fun that we're definitely doing it again. And it'll be Agua themed, and we'll have lots of bubbles and play toys. And we've got Jubal, the cosmic dragon, coming. And he's going to do performances for the kids and also performances late night for the adults. This is not Jubal, but he's one of his cousins.
Amazing. Oh,
And we'll have
lovely.
lots of, we have dance parties in the garden or in the greenhouse. It's pretty cosmic. No.
Sure. Oh, lovely. Thank you so much, Nathan. Yeah, and thank you, Hamid.
Oh, thank you for allowing me to be here. Yeah,
He's the finder. Hamid the finder. So yeah, that's a true hummingbird, someone who gathers the nectar of the universe, and I see that in you, Hamid. So thank you for the work you're doing, and you're really connecting so many cultures, spaces, and visions. So thank you for doing that work. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you, Nathan. We'll be in touch more.
Absolutely.
Sending a big thank you to the cactus just for allowing us all to have this conversation and for connecting us in this way and giving us a way to be of service and love in our lives.
Should we take another breath into the here and now?
Yeah, let's do it. Close it. Yep.
Thank you all. School's over. It's time for recess.
This podcast episode was a production of the Huachuma Foundation. If you would like to be a guest on our show, email us at huachumafoundation@gmail.com. If you would like to learn more about us or support our mission, please visit huachumafoundation.org. And most of all, remember to plant more, worry less.